everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Spartan Arms Las Vegas. Today we're going to be talking about the biggest mistakes that people make who are first-time purchasers. Now, everybody's going to make mistakes, right?
We all do.
Some of them are bigger than others, but today we're going to tell you, especially if you're a first-time buyer, what not to do, right?
Absolutely. We're going to do just a little walkthrough and kind of show you what first-time buyers
Maybe should avoid.
Maybe should avoid, what they should be looking for. So one of the first things we see when first-time gun buyers come in is they gravitate towards smaller firearms.
Yes, I've noticed that.
So part of the thing we're going to talk about is what to look for, what not to look for, who to bring and who not to bring.
Who to listen to, who not to listen to, because I think that's probably a big mistake too, right? Is letting who influences you.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. And just for the record, a lot of this is subjective.
It is.
These are just our opinions for doing this for quite a few years. So just take that with a grain of salt. You know, everybody's gonna have a different situation.
We're gonna try and give you solid advice that I think would help you out. If you come into the shop, it can be really overwhelming. I mean, I remember the first time I went into shop by myself, and there's so much to see, so much to look at, and there's 50,000 different models, and each model has different characteristics, and what do I do? So that's kind of what we're doing. So what would you say is the biggest first mistake that people make?
So the biggest first mistake I would say is people just not being honest with us. Tell us where your gun knowledge is, and that's a good starting point for us to know.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go with this?
Yeah. So, don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. Ask questions. That's what they're here for.
It's 100% okay to walk in and just go, hey, look, I'm new to this.
Yeah.
Let's start with square one.
Yep.
Because really, safety is square one.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to start with. We want to get people comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more safe you can be with your firearm.
Yeah, if you walk in and say, hey, look, I want something to defend myself, but the guy behind the counter thinks that you're at a different level, then he's going to look around at things that are at a different level for you. If you walk in and say, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I don't know what these things are, but I want to defend myself, he knows to start from the beginning.
We know to start at square one.
Exactly.
So some of the first mistakes that people make is asking for a small firearm first.
Yeah, that is
because one of the things
mistake.
we're going to ask, is this for concealed carry? Is this for home protection?
Right.
Is this for shooting at the range? And really, when you're talking about a small concealed carry gun, and I'll just use the Ruger LCP as just a starting point.
Yeah, just an example.
It's small. There's a really small recoil spring on here. There's not a great purchase for two hands on this to have great control. The sights aren't the best on the market. And not only that, but your capacity on this is just teeny tiny.
Right.
So what that's going to equate to is not a great time shooting at the range.
Not a good home defense pistol.
Not a great home defense. I mean, 10 rounds,
that's California style right there.
It's just not where it's at.
So listen, the reason that he's saying these things is because if you walk in and you're somebody who thinks guns are big and scary, right? The littler one looks less intimidating to you. So you want to gravitate towards the less intimidating one, but in reality, the bigger one is going to be more beneficial for multiple reasons, opposite of what he just told you. So if you come in and you pick up that little tiny one thinking, well, it's smaller, so it should be easier to handle.
Right.
That's the exact opposite. I mean, what's it like shooting a tiny gun?
It has a lot of recoil.
A lot of recoil. It's very poppy.
They're very snappy. You're going to get that front end snap up on you.
Shorter sight radius.
Less accurate. I mean, there's a lot of different things for that.
Yeah, a lot to consider in the smaller frame. It's like the baseline here is if it's your first time and it's not for concealed carry, go bigger.
Right.
Because out of bigger you get.
Right. So with that being said, I'm just going to use the Canic as an example. This is a full size 9mm, 17 rounds in the magazine. So you wouldn't have to reload as often. God forbid you were in a terrible situation in your house.
Yeah.
Two, the recoil spring on this is twice as big. In some cases, 3 times as big as some of these smaller firearms. That's just going to equate to a little bit more of a softer shooting gun.
Right.
That's going to be more accurate for you. Your follow-up shot is going to be much better than that than that follow-up shot on a smaller firearm.
Yeah. So while you're the person coming in kind of worried about the recoil, thinking smaller would be better.
Right.
In reality, bigger is better for recoil because the weight actually absorbs some of that recoil. Let's just move to the opposite end of the spectrum here. Okay. The opposite end of the spectrum is a bigger pistol in a just standard defensive caliber like 9mm. That's great. Okay. But what do you not want to do is go even bigger. Okay, so bigger in terms of caliber. Understand that yes, a bigger gun is going to feel better, but if you have somebody that says, hey, you need something really big, it's got to have stopping power, it's your first ever gun, and they hand you something like this, okay, this is also a bad idea. So while small is a bad idea, this is also a terrible idea, because it's got a ton of recoil.
Yeah,
it's bigger than you can handle, almost guaranteed for a new shooter.
There's always exceptions to the rule that
Sure.
bigger isn't always better, and this is just one of those. Huge caliber, there is no recoil reduction.
Yeah, this is a 454, okay?
There was no recoil reduction in a revolver.
No.
Now, with that being said, there's always exceptions to the rule, right?
Yes.
So sometimes we have elderly customers or customers that have nerve damage in their hands, whatever the case may be. Sometimes a revolver is that answer to the question.
Yes, because you do have to have the dexterity in order to manipulate that slide.
Rack the slide and, put a new magazine in there once one has been emptied. So, 38 special in a revolver is sometimes a good idea. The questions you have to answer yourself is this a gun that I can reload easily? 5 rounds, again, right? Mm-hmm. There's no recoil reduction in a revolver. Right. You're going to feel every bit of that 38 special or 357. So these are considerations that you're going to have to make when we're talking about even switching from a revolver from a semi-automatic.
Yeah. And these are considerations that Nathan or anybody here would be happy to help you with, as long as you let them know that that's something that you're new at, right?
All right. So one of the other things we should talk about is caliber.
Caliber is very important.
Caliber is very
important.
I agree. It determines a lot of things in the firearm you're going to choose, such as capacity, stopping power, choices of ammo, availability of ammo, and even price of ammo.
Cost of ammo, which is a big one.
It's a huge factor.
Because you're going to want to practice.
Yes.
And you're not going to want to spend $300 every time you go practice.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree.
Like when your grandma comes in here, we are not going to say, hey, let's look at a 45 ACP.
Yeah, or a 44 Magnum.
It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. Caliber's really important. So my favorite caliber, personally, is the 9mm. I like it for various reasons, but like Nathan has mentioned multiple times in the shop, is that it's not the end-all. What do you say? It's not the end-all, be-all?
It's not the end-all, be-all. There's several different ways for home defense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to take in consideration the information that you tell us. I mean, that's really what we're keying in on here.
Yeah.
It could be 12 gauge. It could be 20 gauge. It could even be an AR-15. Depending on the area you live in, you have to kind of take in consideration, are there homes really close to you?
Are you in an apartment? Are you out on a farm? I mean, right?
Right.
These are all things to consider.
Yeah, I mean, an AR-15 is an excellent weapon for home defense.
Oh,
However, living in an apartment, living in homes that are a stone's throw away from each other,
Sure.
not the greatest option.
Yeah, no. And here's the thing to remember, too, is if you're talking about ammunition is really a big effect on your recoil and things like that, too. So things like 9mm, I like it because it's easy to shoot. It's a good compromise between some of the bigger calibers and some of the smaller calibers without really over kicking you with that recoil.
You're gonna get a good balance with 9mm.
What I actually recommend to people to do first is go rent a gun. Go to a range that has gun rentals, spend $10, get out there, and figure out what you like. Once you've figured out what you like, you'll have a lot more information when you come in the store.
Yeah, we have the Clark County Shooting Range a mile up the street from us.
Yeah.
You can rent a ton of different SIGs and a bunch of different configurations and really see what you like. Sometimes you can have a friend who might have a extensive collection and you can go out and, maybe buy them some ammo.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, look, shameless plug here, okay? We have a range right up the street here, and we have all of your range supplies in store. So if you have questions, feel free to stop by and ask us our questions and pick up whatever targets and range supplies you might need while you head up there to practice. So we touched on this in the very beginning, and I think that we should touch on this before we leave here.
Yeah.
Don't listen to other people. Don't listen to other people. Don't let your 16-year-old son tell you that he saw this thing on Call of Duty and it is the perfect thing to get. No, don't. Just don't, okay?
Leave your uncle at home.
Leave your uncle at home and let people who do this for a living help you out. That's got to be, I'm sure you've seen it, right? People come in, their husband and wife maybe, and the husband's telling his wife what to get.
You should get a 40 right out the bat.
Yeah, you should get a 40 because 40.
Stopping power.
Stopping power. Yeah, it's not good to listen to other people's advice unless that person just happens to be maybe a trainer in law enforcement or somebody with a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
so basically, it just comes down to is, listen, go to different shops, get different opinions, watch some YouTube videos. I mean, there's some really good information out there. You just have to look around a little bit. Do your research before you decide. This is what you want to get into. Take these guys' opinions for what they are, as opinions. I mean,
exactly. But ask a lot of questions. I think number one, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that's not a complete list of things that first-timers do when they come in the shop,
right.
but at least it gives you a little bit of advice.
And again, we're just trying to help you make an informed decision on what is possibly your first firearm for purchase.
Yep.
So we really appreciate you sticking with us till the end of the video. Please subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff.
Hit that little bell notification.
You got it.
Yeah.
And this is Will, I'm Nathan, and we'll see you at the shop.